All right. So yeah, hi. My name is Dirk Lueth. I'm a co-founder of a company called Upland. We are based in Silicon Valley. I cannot hide my accent. I'm originally from Germany, but I live in Silicon Valley since 10 years. Just a quick hands of you. Who is in blockchain gaming, just to get a rough idea? Okay, so some, not all, everyone. Okay, so who knows the game Monopoly? Stupid question, everyone. Okay, so I want to explain you a little bit, what we do and how we do things different, and why I also think that we are actually an outlier in all the what I heard so far. Somehow a little bit negative news about blockchain gaming, because we're actually going exactly the other way around, and show you now how. So just quick, I'm going to rush through that for those who have been here before and have heard about, all this, true ownership things and so on. But where are we coming from? When we think about, there was this agricultural revolution first, then the next thing we had the industrial revolution, then we had the information revolution, which is not too old, for 20 years, and now we have the ownership revolution. And that's what we believe is really a big, big paradigm shift, not just in terms of technology, but in terms of society, which is really changing a lot. And just picture, when you own a house, right, then you actually take care of it. You maintain it well and so on. It's exactly the same thing when you own a digital good and you can maybe change it. You want to really, you're taking care, you maintain it, you embellish it and so on. If you're just renting a house, that's maybe an extreme example, you wouldn't live in there, but you just don't care about it, right? Or it's just a house because, you still leave every day and go somewhere else. So blockchain and gaming, we know all that, right? The first time users truly own digital items, which are accessible through decentralized ledgers. But it's this big paradigm shift, for those who are not in blockchain gaming, traditional gaming economies are simulated. That's very important, right? But for the first time, it's really, every asset and token is accounted for in a real economy. And I'm going to stress that a little bit further out. But as we know, mass market is really complicated. And what you've seen so far in all the games which are out there, it's still complicated. All the games we're seeing, it's, you have to get a MetaMask or Scatter wallet or whatever. You have to handle keys, and onboarding is hard, and it costs time, and so on. So really just maybe, the early adopters or nerds who are really doing this. And that's where we come to our mission is that we really want to empower mass markets. We've heard that many times now, but through digital ownership and true ownership and in an open economy. And I want to show you how we do it. So we are a mass market blockchain game. And we've actually launched. And what you do is you buy, sell, and trade virtual properties, which are based on real-world addresses. Right now, you can buy those addresses only in San Francisco. We've launched a closed beta last June, and we had just organically a waitlist of 3,500 people signing up, so we never did any marketing. And we just came out of closed beta at the end of last year, so 25th of December, on Christmas actually, and then we're in open beta now since then. And since then, our revenues have been constantly growing. What we also very, very different, we do have an iOS app, we do have an Android app, and we do actually do cross-platform, i.e. you can go use the mobile browser. Not yet the PC browser, we're just waiting on that. You can transact in our app with fiat. When you go through the web, you use obviously PayPal, or you use a credit card, or you do in-app purchases when you have a native app. What you do is actually that you go and buy our in-game currency, cryptocurrency, versus Apex. I know that question is going to come. Apex is not tradable on exchanges, and we do that on purpose. There's a lot of, but the main purpose is obviously regulatory reasons. Yeah. But what you will be able to do, you can sell once you buy a property. You can actually go and sell it on our internal marketplace right now. And right now we're very much in control because we want to control the whole economy, that it works well. But we're planning on launching a feature that we will be able to sell it against fiat also against dollars and euros a little bit later this year. Actually, on this week, we also will be allowing crypto in. This is also coming this week or next week. That's also quite novel. So we've been really flying under the debt radar, I'd say. We're not on debt radar and so on, but in terms of daily active users, we are probably one of the top games already. If I see at the top 20 games at the moment. So the way the game works is basically you get a map, like Google Maps, you zoom in and you zoom into really all the way down to a street address, like 234 Post Street. You see that on the map, and then you can buy that property. So it's very simple as that. And so what we have right now is not all game loops implemented yet. So one game loop which we have is that you can do a collection. So collect three bars in San Francisco, three properties on the same street, and then actually you will. One thing I forgot to say is because when you buy a property, you start earning UPEX on it, or a yield in terms of UPEX. But when you complete the collection, you get actually a yield boost. You earn more money in that moment, and you can increase that, and you get a one-time boost, or it's a recurrent boost, which is quite interesting. We're introducing this quarter also treasure hunts, and we'll have, of course, since it's a real world, we'll have also location-based features coming up. So we're really using those proven mechanics. So collecting, obviously, like you collect properties. We have all these friends from since we're in England here, it makes sense to show that team. Pokemon Go, we have trading. We soon. Not soon, but in the second half of the year, we are planning on adding more features. I cannot really say when it's coming, but we'll have building features. It obviously makes sense that you can build on top of it, and we'll introduce some competing, collaborating features. So we don't know yet when exactly which is coming. We have also, because we're building very much with our community, we're always collecting feedback. So we have a very vibrant Telegram community at the moment, and they send us Excel sheets, they send us so many stuff, so we have to digest and to understand, okay, what is most important for people. So, but how do we dismantle the roadblocks? And what's very important, I think, to all, what we've heard for all blockchain games. So first of all, we want to go mass market, and we're not using tech lingo like we are a decentralized ledger and you can do transactions without intermediaries, blah, blah, right? What we basically say is how the people speak. So we say, for instance, if you don't own it, you cannot sell it. So that's what resonates with everyone, right, in a certain way. Or what you see later, we will, in order to play Upland for long term, you have to get a visa, right? And that's all these kind of things we're using. And of course, the UI and UX must be engaging, must be a fun game to play. And we've gone actually quite a new route in terms of UI and UX. Not all of people like it, but I think once they start playing, they all come back, yeah, first I didn't like it, now I really like it. So it's interesting feedback we're catching right now. Second thing is onboarding. So the identity cannot really depend on one desktop application like MetaMask or whatever. So, and it must be cross-platform. And of course, we have a mobile-first philosophy. So in our platform, all you do is actually onboard only with email and the password. We're ciphering it. We never have access. We don't know the password, so we have we cannot really, look into and go into the account. That's not possible for us. Right, which makes it also super interesting, but also that the average player really can start playing immediately because it's all they need is this email and the password. So that's very important. So once we have them on board, it's also in the terms of payments, as I mentioned before. Do not depend on private keys and wallets and all these kind of things. We really want to have those in-app purchases, which are able, obviously, actually, I don't know if we are even one of the first ones in the app stores who are actually allowing that in that way. PayPal. So I think that's because people understand that, right? But there's a challenge, and the whole free-to-play. So everyone understands blockchain, and blockchain is immutable, right? So once I buy something, and we put every property for us as a non-fungible token, yeah. So and we're playing with the natural scarcity of the world, which is kind of nice, right? But how do we do that? Let's say, how do we get people into the game? And that was actually where we thought a lot around, because if people always have to buy something in order to play the game, of course that's a big hurdle, right? So we came up with a different solution, and we call that, in our own words, it's called play-to-own model. And the way it works is actually when you sign up for the first time, you need obviously an email address and your password, and then you are a visitor. And as a visitor, and the user experience is what I mentioned before, you actually go and get a visa. And this visa you have to renew within 1 week. Otherwise, you're losing all your assets which you have collected. Because when you're signing up, you're actually getting 3,000 APEX. And by the way, $1 equals 1,000 APEX, which is our in-game currency. You're getting 3,000 APEX as a sign-on bonus. So in the background, and by the way, I've mentioned it, we are based on the EOS blockchain, and I can explain many reasons why we've chosen that, but I think that's, to my mind, the best blockchain to be really to build a mass market application so far, right? But and we have very good experience with it. But what's happening in the background is actually this is a temporary EOS account, so we are in control of it, so we're owning the private keys. And when a visa lapses, then people will actually lose those assets. So they might have bought a property, but all that goes away if they don't sign in. Or they need to sign in, and then they get a stamp, hey, your visa has been renewed. And so this is really working well, because we see our day 7 retention is over 50%, which is phenomenal, obviously, for a game. And our overall, I mean, it's very, very early, and I don't know whether it's sustainable, but we're super happy about those numbers. But what happens actually when they want to leave that visitor modus? And that's when we say, okay, once you collected 10,000 APEX, you become an Uplander, so a citizen of Upland. And the way you do it is either you buy APEX in the store or through PayPal, of course, you can do that. That's one way of getting into the game. Or you have to really engage in the game, right? You have to buy a property, sell it, complete a collection, and so on. It takes a while, obviously, and it's going to accelerate once we're launching the treasure hunts. Then people can actually earn quicker. But of course, you have to be really engaged, because we want to value those players who play a lot, that they can come into the game and can become an Uplander. And then we get the whole thing. What you can then do is actually get a true ownership stamp. What you cannot do when you're a visitor, then that you can trade in the marketplace. You cannot actually go and buy a property which has been put up from a different player. So we have a certain property mechanism, discovery mechanism, how people actually can go and buy a property. You have to try out the game. I cannot go through the whole features today, right? And also, of course, you get your private key. It's your dedicated EOS account, so we do not have access to those private keys, yeah. But it's your dedicated account. Right now, we're still managing it through our own logic. But going forward, we also will allow that people can use Scatter or other wallets and to manage their private keys in that as well. But again, first of all, because we always have those mass market in mind. But this gets me to the next slide. Is the whole thing about true ownership. We've heard it now many times. I think true ownership is only a part of everything what you need to do to create a real economy and an open economy. So the way we see it is, first of all, that we have to have an open economy, you need a cryptocurrency to trade. Obviously, you don't want to trade, pigs against horses or something, right? You need a currency, and that's what we do with APEX. So that's on the left. How to fuel that. Then, of course, vision. From vision, of course, we want to support all the technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, which comes up, which makes completely sense when you're in the real world. But now back to the economy piece is we want our players to actually transact, interact between them where actually we do not benefit from. So to give you one example, we're currently talking to a car manufacturer who maybe wants to bring his whole fleet into our, not this car, but who's interested in bringing his whole fleet into our game. And that's a kind of an interesting model, because what we can do is then on the properties, people can create a virtual car dealership. People can go and buy that car. You have to know that we currently have what is called Block Explorer. That's some kind of an avatar which roams the city where you can discover properties. But imagine you can now use a car and doing that. But we want to go further, saying people will be able to maybe enhance that car, or pimp it up, or to mod it. And then they say, okay, now I'm going to sell that car to other players. And that's why we said, okay, if you do it, and you're creating really value just between you, and that's, using our lingo, a decentralized transaction, obviously, right? That's where we see. Of course, virtual art is something. We're talking to galleries right now who are interested in bringing all their virtual arts in there and selling it in a certain way. I mean, that's something. And then the middle piece is that's what I love a lot, is the whole financial services piece. It has either something which is happening in our world. For instance, some good players, they can apply to become a bank, and they can maybe rent out or loan Apex to other players, right? Something like this against an interest rate. So they become a bank, like in real life. But speaking of real life, we are also looking into merging, and we always say we live somehow in the blur of the virtual life and the real life, that because since it's a property, and just imagine there's a house, and probably heard about this notion of fractional ownership, so maybe we can allow people to actually sell their real house also, tokenize their house, sell 2,000 pieces of that house, and sell it through that platform. And just imagine, when you think about retail investing, this is a whole, I believe, is going to change in the future. Today, when you're a retail investor, you go and you buy Pfizer stocks or whatever, which you don't really understand what's behind it and so on. But in this case, maybe you want to buy, some tokens of your neighbor's house because you understand the area and so on. And now you can do some investment in that aspect, right? That's something which I think is super interesting concepts which could come up in the future. Yeah. So maybe to summarize, and you see our llama, this is our hero. His name is Miles B. Chain. I just don't want to run through all those things. You heard it. What's very important is maybe the fourth bullet point there. In the old world, traditional games, all your relationships, is defined in all those terms. Always, you never own something. The gaming company can take it away. Players are really just consumers. But the important thing is also we want our players, users, uplanders to be really be stakeholders. So we're very optimistic because we've seen revenue growth month over month. We have incredible stickiness numbers right now, we strongly believe that we want to build this new, let's say, world where true ownership triggers this creativity. What I mentioned, they're going to mod their car or going to do virtual art or whatever they do, and they develop some kind of business sense, right? When the internet came along 30 years ago, everyone thought, oh, this is going to, all jobs are going away, but we didn't know that there will be new jobs generated like data scientists and what have you, right? So that is something we truly believe and we want to build out at this point, right? Now, we also think that the open economy value proposition will drive people back. It's always, okay, I can come back, I can check what are my assets doing, is there something, maybe somebody offered me something to sell my properties and so on. So, and we're seeing that actually. We have the early numbers, we're super encouraging at the moment. And of course, people will start spending in the game because they truly own it, they understand it, right? And we have to convey that, right? Of course, they can now always verify it on the blockchain that they truly own it, but let's that's something which will, once they grasp that concept, I'm very optimistic that the customer lifetime value will increase significantly. And that means also that those games will probably increase in demand. Hopefully, because we are speaking of the industry here, there will be other games doing very similar things like we do. So, we all do some kind of missionary job here to convey that to the consumers. And I believe it's, it used to be, very hard for traditional game operators to deal, that players can trade their goods. But I think there's a lot of new opportunities, and we have tons of ideas, and I think you guys have some too, what you can do, which is really great for the players and as well as for the game operators. So go ahead and download the game in the app stores and reach out to me if you have any questions, but that's my speech for today.
Okay, thanks. Do you have any questions? Time for one question? If there is any.
No.
Oh, one at the back there. Wait for the mic's coming. Can you tell us who you are?
Hi, Luke from Non-Fungibles podcast. I was wondering what the value proposition of UpX is and why you expect it to have value, and why you didn't choose a traditional cryptocurrency.
So first of all, for us, it's a purely utility value. It's not something people want to speculate on and see it as a value. Where a store of value, where like Bitcoin goes up and so on. That's the reason why we are fixing, in quotation marks, the exchange rate at the moment. Where people really extract the value out of the game is through NFTs. It starts out right now with the properties, and later on, then of course with other digital goods.
And the other question I had was, with the properties, when you buy a property, what can you then do with it in game apart from sell it?
So what you can do right now is, and I'm quite honest, we're still in open beta obviously right now. Not all game loops are implemented, right? There's still some things missing. What you do right now is you buy the property you earn, so you want to increase your net worth, right? And you do that by finding interesting properties, adding them to a collection. So we have collections of different difficulty level. There's one where you just have to go collect 2 properties in San Francisco, right? Or another property was really hard. I don't know if you've been to San Francisco. There's this Lombard Street. It's really hard to get those properties because they're rare, and then you have to trade with other players. So people are getting their fun trading with other players, communicating with them, and what we currently see is also because our Telegram group, they spun off other groups where they discuss things. We see that they have already other players developing on top a search engine that creates the blockchain, because we're not providing all data because they were missing some data. So we see that the ecosystem is really working, that people are starting developing something around it. But to your question, right now, what you get right now is increasing your net worth and getting the fun of trading, properties, going back and forth and finding something. But our players are making up their own thing. They're building their own virtual treasure hunts and lots of funny things, which shows that there's something which seems to work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Dirk.
Yeah.